Good morning, my lovely SEAL students, or good afternoon, or I guess good whenever you're choosing to watch this video. If you are following our usual class schedule, then today for you it should be June 12th? Yes, June 12th, Monday, June 12th. This is our Monday lesson number 2, our second one. In the first one last week, we talked about the stages of conflict. You know, how it progresses when it's left unchecked. It's out of control. And we looked at some stories to help us understand examples of these stages. And we learned too about how important controlling emotions is in these different stages. I wanted to mention that if we notice on our stages of conflict chart, every step that, goes further and further could probably be prevented with, being able to control those angry emotions that seem to get the better of us, So that is a really good skill to have, controlling emotions, when we're trying to solve conflicts. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. Actually, we are going to be talking about the specific skills that help us resolve conflicts. Soft skills, I guess, or personal skills that we can develop to make it easier to solve problems like that. We'll also talk about some examples about how to apply these skills in real life. So, of course, first of all, we need to talk about what those skills are. So I have written them here, just so you have a written, sorry, it's backwards again. You have a written copy of the skills. They're here under step 2 on your Monday lesson step 2 notes and instructions sheet that I gave to you. So the 7 skills for conflict resolution are listed right here. So let's do a quick, we'll talk about them quickly because we're going to spend some time reading about them and learning about them that way too. So first of all, the first conflict resolution skill that we're talking about is effective communication, right? Pretty straightforward. Being able to express what you mean in a clear way that's not confusing, and being able to ask questions when you don't understand something, right? Making sure to everyone's expressing themselves well. The second skill is active listening. Active listening is always kind of underrated as a skill, but it's so important, A lot of times, especially if we're arguing, a lot of times we kind of are just waiting for the person before us to finish talking, and while they're talking, we're thinking about what we're going to say next. It's natural. It's something that we all do, but that doesn't help us solve conflicts, right? In order to solve conflicts, we need to listen to both sides of the situation so that we can problem solve more easily. The third one is emotional intelligence. So that's about understanding your emotions, being able to name the feelings you're feeling, maybe noticing the signs that other people are showing of their emotions, and knowing how to cope with those, how to deal with them. The next one is mediation. Mediation. Not to be confused with meditation. To solve a conflict, just take a deep breath and meditate. Sometimes it feels like that's the way to handle it, right? It's actually good. But no, not meditation. This one is mediation. So we've talked a bit about mediation in our previous classes in May. And that is basically about being able to look at both sides of the story, both parties' needs, both parties' wants, and figuring out a compromise that works for everybody. So that's mediation. Facilitation, that's a new one. That might be a new word for some of you as well. Facilitation. It's kind of hard to say. Facilitation, or to facilitate. Facilitation is, it's kind of similar to teaching in a way, but less involved. Facilitation is more like organizing people's ideas and organizing resources in order to, present them to others so that they can make decisions about it. So it's all about organizing everyone's feelings and organizing possible solutions and whatever there is that's needed to help them, resources, books, meetings, whatever. A facilitator presents that to whoever's dealing with the conflict, and it helps. So you'll read more about that to get more details on what that actually means. This is just kind of an introduction. The next skill is problem solving and critical thinking. So you guys learned this one through experience when we did our deserted island exercise. So if you were there that day, or if you weren't there that day, I should say, we as a group had to choose 3 items that we would need to survive on a deserted island. So everyone had to work together and agree on only 3 things that we could bring to the island to help us survive. Then we had to face a problem on the island, violent storms every night, and you guys had to discuss and agree upon a solution to this problem. And so you learned all about how important problem solving is and being creative and, thinking outside of the box. That's problem solving and critical thinking. The last skill that we're talking about is assertiveness. That one's interesting. It's another forgettable one. Assertiveness is hard, too. Assertiveness took me, anyway, it took me a long time to learn that one and practice it and feel comfortable with it. Basically, assertiveness means a confidence, kind of an inner confidence to express your needs and your feelings and your wants, the confidence to explain them and be clear about what you want, as well as a kind of taking leadership of finding a solution, That doesn't mean putting your needs first all the time, but it's just sort of the confidence and taking leadership kind of thing. And that's not to be confused with aggressiveness. A lot of times when people are learning what is assertiveness, they also mix it up with aggressiveness. So assertive and aggressive are very different. So while assertive is more, confident and leadership, aggression is going kind of assertiveness, taking it way too far, being intimidating and needlessly angry and violent and pushing too far. You can be confident and state what you need without pushing, right? So that's the difference between assertive, confident, and aggressive, which is pushy, kind of, So, and that's hard to do, to find that confidence, especially when you're, maybe in a new job and you don't want to make a bad impression, or you're working with people that you really want to impress, or if maybe you're not confident even to speak English. So assertiveness can be hard to find or to re-find in some situations too. So it's a good one to practice and to know about. So those are our 7 conflict resolution skills that we're going to be exploring more about today. I hope that's pretty clear. And don't forget, I've written it here for you guys to reference. So, what we're going to do for today, your assignment, is going to be a reading assignment. I have given you guys an article. It's from Indeed.com, and we use that for job searching. So it's from Indeed.com, and so it looks like this. It's backwards, but you get the gist, right? This one, it's titled, "What Conflict Resolution Skills Are Important for Workplace Success?" So that's the one you should be looking at, and that's what it's titled on your email. This article talks about each of the 7 skills, and at the end here, it even gives a step-by-step process on how to apply them in the stages of conflict, how to apply them in a real-life situation with some examples. So it's really helpful. So this is what you'll be reading. Now, I've given it to some of you on paper, and I've emailed it to you. Now, you can read it using the paper, but if you use the email and you open it on your laptop or your phone, some of these things are like these underlined words or, you know, little links. There's links in here. So you can click on those on the computer and it'll take you to another page that explains more about it, or, you know, gives examples or whatever it is that it's showing. Like this one says, read more, communication skills, definitions, and examples, and it's underlined. So if you open this on your computer, you can click that and it'll take you to another page that gives you more information. So that's there if it helps you understand better. If you prefer the paper's good too to use. That's all you really need to do this assignment. So your first thing you need to do, once that's open and ready, your first task is to choose one of the 7 conflict resolution skills that we discussed. Choose one. I recommend choosing one that's maybe a new word for you or a new idea, or maybe it's something that you feel that you want to work on. Because if you choose one that's just easy, or you feel like, oh, I know that one's my favorite, I'm good at that one, then you won't be very interesting, you already know all about it. So pick one that's, gonna give you some new information. So once you have picked out one of those skills that you want to focus on, you are going to read this article, keeping that skill in mind. So read the whole article, of course, but I would recommend maybe underlining or highlighting whenever you see your skill in this text. So for example, if I chose active listening as my skill, maybe every time I see active listening in the text, I could highlight it, and then it's easy for me to go back and find that information about my skill when it comes time for me to answer the questions. So, you've got everything you need to start. All you're doing right now is choosing one of the skills and reading this with that skill in mind. That's kind of your purpose for reading this, to learn more about that particular skill. Okay? So, I will give you time to read. Don't forget, you can use a translator, you can use a dictionary. Take your time, make sure you understand, especially make sure you understand the stuff surrounding the skill you chose. That's important. So, that's it. I will give you time to go do it, and when we come back, we'll talk about the assignment questions. So, now, what I'm supposed to say, now go do step 2 and 3. Okie dokie, so you should have finished reading now. If you haven't, then stop the video, go back, read, you need to read. And now we're going to talk about the actual questions I want you to answer. So this is a reading assignment from your Stages book. And I've posted the questions I want you to answer on your notes and instructions sheet that I gave you for lesson number 2. So I'll just read them out for you here. So the questions I want you to answer are, number 1, describe the skill you chose, the conflict resolution skill, in your own words. So what does it mean? So, for example, I might write on my paper, number 1, active listening is la 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 la, and then write what it is, define it, explain it. I ask you to do it in your own words because that just shows that you really understand it. If you just copy and paste from the article, it just shows that you can copy, right? So try and, explain it without looking, all right? Make sure you understand it, of course, and then try and explain it without looking at the exact words. Number 2, why is it an important skill? So, why is it important? So, for example, I might say, active listening is important because blah, 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 blah. I answer the question. I've almost kind of given you some sentence starters for these questions to help you get started. Question number 3 is, how do you use the skill in the steps of conflict resolution? And I've written here to use the section that's subtitled How to Apply Conflict Resolution Skills Step by Step. So that is on page 3 of your article here, right under Assertiveness. It's right here where it says How to Apply Conflict Resolution Skills Step by Step. So this shows steps, and right as you've read, your skills that you chose should be included in there somewhere. You might have to read between the lines a little bit. That's good. That's a reading strategy. We want to practice that. So read that part again or review it again and find out where in that step-by-step process do you use this skill and how does it work? What might it look like? So, for example, you might write number 3. You use active listening in step number blah. When you do this, that's how you can answer the question. So, yeah, fill in the blank. Last question, number 4. Create your own example of a conflict situation where this skill would be used, and explain how you would use it in that scenario. So you could use examples from class that we've used before in our conflict report writing, in our sharing our personal experiences. You can use your own experience or a friend's experience, or you could make up something new, whatever works for you. But just kind of try and write down a situation where you would use it and how you would use it. So for example, your answer might sound like, you use active listening. Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Oh no, I'm getting behind myself. I'm going back to number 3. Scrap that example. The example I meant to say for number 4, creating your own example, would be this. Active listening would be useful in a situation where blah. In that situation, I would show active listening by doing this. Showing active listening. So, in this, I am giving the situation, or it would be useful, and I am explaining how I would use it, how it would be useful, by giving examples of what I would do with it in that situation. So that's it. Just 4 questions, and these 4 questions should show that you understand what the skill is, how it works. If you guys want to share your answers, you could always post your answers as a comment on this video. Then you guys can see each other's answers. Because I'm sure everyone, well, not everyone, but I'm sure a lot of you picked different skills from the list. So if you want to help each other out, that might be an interesting thing to try, doing the comment thing, putting your answers there. As long as you don't copy each other. But no, you can't. I would know. So there's an idea. So now is the time to go ahead and do that. Take your time to answer those questions. And don't forget, if you do have any struggles with these questions, leave them or circle them. Write down any specific questions you have about them or parts of it that you need help with. And take that to Irma or Debbie, so that they can help you with it. So go ahead, I'll give you time. Now go do step 5. Alrighty, so I guess you guys are finished your assignments, your 4 questions on what you read in the conflict resolution skills workshop. There's a lot of words in that title. I cut out some of them so it's easier to say. So you guys, you're finished for the day. That's it. That's all I needed you guys to do for today. So don't forget to send me your completed assignments either by text or by email. Or, of course, you can post your answers on the comments below so that you guys can share them and discuss them. It's kind of something to try, a neat idea. So that's it for today. That's all for Monday lesson number 2. That's all for our lesson today. Don't forget to keep your questions for Irma or Debbie or myself, and I will see you next time or next week. Have a good one, everybody.